Joining in for another edition of Hawk Talk. Joining me today is Coach Thadd. Coach, welcome back.
Thank you.
Last time you were here, we were talking about golf. This time it's wrestling. Season's getting closer. Anticipation's building. The big question, everyone's been asking, and I know you've written articles and other people have written articles, but we're doing a late season start this year, January 1st. Talk to me about the big move and tell Hawk Nation about the big move.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. This is my 20th year, and about 10 years ago I was thinking this would be a perfect season if we started after Christmas, because you battle that first semester, those young guys in the program, they probably at the time at the end of that first semester, they probably have lost more matches than they did in their whole high school career just because of the level change in wrestling. And then also being away from mom, having to do their own laundry. And when I first came to Dickinson, I ran one of the dorms. So when you go into coaching and you're into that dorm setting or the resident hall setting, you really get to see how the kids transition into college. You see the looks of being homesick. You see, not going to class. You see, how they take care of their rooms and things like that, which you wouldn't get if you weren't in that environment. So when I first started coaching, I was in there, and you could tell freshmen from sophomores instantly, just because they had that wild look in their eye, like they have no idea what's going on and what do I need to do next and who's going to help me. And then by their sophomore year, they pretty much had all that stuff figured out. Then it's just how well they do in school, and then they're in the wrestling. So a lot of, I think, that transition part isn't so much the sport thing as so much as maturing and doing things on your own. And we have kids, like every sport program has kids from all over the nation. So you have backgrounds from kids that their mom and dad have done everything for them from the get-go to kids that have been on their own for the last 2 years of high school. So you get a real good mix of students. So doing it this way, I think we can do a lot better job of getting them transitioned into college wrestling. But more importantly, get them to have one real good year of one semester of academics where, that's their focus. We had our guys load up on classes. We had, their focus is that academic side of, hey, let's take our real tough classes and do that, because that would be their focus, and then they get that semester under their belt. And because studies show that your academic career is really based on your first semester. If you do a good job and you're organized, it kind of carries over. If you struggle, that's going to haunt you for quite a few years, and then you get those guys at the end that are going 6-7 years trying to recover. So trying to be on the front end of that with a little bit, and obviously administration likes that part of it, but really it's what's going to be best for our students. And our athletes last year, and at the beginning of the year last year, I told our assistant coaches, this is kind of what I want to do. Let's do this year and ask questions along the way. And we talked to our team at the beginning of this, and they were like, why, those guys are going to have so many more matches on us. And I'm like, at the end, let's see who the guys are successful. Jesse Hellinger was a national champ for us last year, wrestled one match first semester. Got hurt first match of the tournament. He never wrestled again until January. Year before, we had 2 All-Americans that wrestled less than 5 matches. So I went back and looked at our guys that were real successful and would they do that first semester. And you're always going to have those guys that are going to run through the wall for you. They wrestle 50 matches, 60 matches and not face them. But the mass group of your teams, they really fall off just because it's 6 months. It's a long season. And you have to, if you're going to be successful, you have to be, in wrestling especially, you have to be in top shape, and you have to be your body fat down to the lowest possible to be strong enough. And, the masses weren't going to, we can do that. I told our team, we can do it for 2 months. 5-6 months, it's really tough. Sure. It takes a real special person. And to be successful, we need 12 guys at our regional wrestling really well. If we have 2 or 3, we're going to be average. But if we want to be real successful, and we've had success in the past, and like I said, it's a mix of guys that weren't wrestling first semester. And the thing about it, when I went back and looked, we have 40 guys on our team. We were spending a lot of money and traveling a lot of guys in the first semester, that weren't part of our 12 at the end of the year. So it's an economic thing also. You know, get the guys ready. And right now we set up our practices, and I laid it out, went through it with our team. This is what we're going to do. At the beginning, we started the same time we did last year. We started our preseason. We do, you know, and we do a lot of. Coach Schleck he's our weight room guy. He's our workout guy, fitness guy, and you know they did some CrossFit. So it's been a real mixture. It's not like the same thing every day. So they're challenged that way. And then when we started our practices, we start out with, we do technique every other day and live wrestling the opposite day. And then on Fridays, we test out on our technique. You know, before we'd show technique, we'd go through what we call a mini camp and show them technique, get the freshmen used to our terminology. And then we start wrestling. And once you start competing, Monday, you know, you're going over what happened on the weekend. Tuesday, Wednesday, you wrestle hard. Thursday, it's a light practice. And Friday, you're traveling. So you really don't get to learn a lot.
Sure.
You know, it's like Coach Grappy said before, baptized by fire, you know, especially if you're a freshman in the lineup. Then those freshmen, you know, they learn, and, you know, what we are not getting is a tournament knowledge, going through a grind of a tournament, knowing that, you know, you have to get up for a match and mentally preparing for a match. You know, we try to mimic that, but nothing really mimics that until you step in and all of that. So that part, you know, that's what I think that part is what I'm most worried about right now. But the technique part, I think our young guys, even our older guys, I don't know, is it that they just know what I like to show, but now they know our technique. We test out on Friday. We'll tell them a series. This is what you're going to do. This is what your opponent's going to do. Okay, your opponent's going to do this. Let's see you perform. And they have to go through and show that technique. And if they don't get it, we just have them redo it until we get that technique down. And it's worked really well. And I think our guys have a lot more technique part of it. So that part I'm real happy about because I love the technique side of it. Conditioning wise, we're in good shape. My only fear on this thing is over break. So now we have finals next week and we're on and off on final. We're going to wrestle the first 3 days finals. And once they're done with their finals, they're free to go home. And then we come back on December 26th. We have our first tournament January 3rd. So it's that time, this, you know, it'd just be like anybody getting ready for a competition. Right before that, you need to be going hard. And we're going to give them that break right before they go and then come back. So weight control is going to be one of those things that I've been harping on and we've been waiting, that their weight is coming down. And I think the guys that have really, really bought in have brought their weight down and done a really good job. Some guys that are still old school of, you know, hey, I'm going to wait till the week of and then I'll drop down, you know, and we tried showing them because we've had 2 blue-gray duels which is our inner squad, where they've had to weigh in. And some guys have done that, and then when they wrestle, it shows. So we've used it as a learning tool, and that's what we have. That's what we usually get out of those early tournaments is those guys that don't do a good job with their weight control. And then learning to compete on the college level.
Sure.
So I think it's, we're excited. I'm excited, and you know, we've been talking about the guy, you know, what do you think? They're anxious to wrestle. I mean, it's real, and when I figured it out on paper, pencil it out, our guy's going to be probably about 5 to 7. For a guy that competes in every duel that we have, he'll be 5 to 7 matches behind if we would have had our regular season. And our season's changed, our schedule's changed in that our first semester, usually we come back, we don't wrestle till the 14th of January. We're wrestling the 3rd of January. So we've picked up 2 tournaments that we would not have in the second semester that we usually had off. And so we basically lost 1 tournament.
Okay.
So
Sure. The first one's at Midland, Nebraska, the Midland Open. What kind of competition are we going to face down there?
that's the issue with going January 3rd. The only ones that are really competing at that time are Division I. So there's going to be 3 NEI schools there, us, Midland, and then Bellevue, or there's another NEI school. But the rest, Nebraska, Iowa State, Wyoming, Utah, who else is in there? They're mostly Division I competition because those guys are going straight 6 months. They don't take a Christmas break. So that, that's going to be tough. And that's what I told our guys. We're getting this one till we get that tournament we get that one under our belt. So you get out there, you get to wrestle some Division I guys. And in wrestling, it's different than, say, basketball. I know the guys were talking about playing UND and things. In wrestling, there's basically two divisions. There's Division I, and then there's everybody else.
Sure.
When we go to tournaments, if we're, our dual schedule you look at, we wrestle Northern State, we wrestle Shadron, we wrestle Moorhead. So we're basically a Division II schedule. So there's Division I, and then there's everybody else that wrestle. This tournament will be a Division I tournament.
Wow.
And it's really great for us in the aspect that our guys will be excited to wrestle. We just got to put it in the right frame of mind for our freshmen that, they're anxious about wrestling college, and then their first one's going to be out against three-time All-American from Iowa. But it'd be a great experience for them. And as long as they have the right attitude going in, we're going to gain out of that, and then we come back after that and we'll get into the majority of our tournaments.
Sure. You mentioned you guys did a couple inter-squad duels this fall season. Was one of those in Glendive?
Yes.
And did you guys also do a clinic down there?
Yes, we've done that the last few years. We've tried to have a clinic before a blue grade. We'd go to somebody that's on the team in a regional area, go to their high school, put on an hour clinic for anything from little guy, junior high, high school kids. And it's not that I'm showing stuff, it's our guys are showing stuff. So we'd break them into, we'd have two of our guys get in a group, grab four of their wrestlers, and go through technique and show them some things. And it's worked out really well. Obviously the coaches like that on that aspect, but it's great for our guys too. I think they get out there. We do a lot of things like that. The wrestlers for reading, they do that. They go into school, we buy books for the second graders, and then we have a clinic for all those guys in the spring. So all the little guys come into our room. So those things is, like Coach Wetzel was talking about, giving back to the community. Those are important, but they're also real important for our guys, for our development of our guys. We got a lot of guys that are into education and into coaching, and they get that aspect. And it's good for us to see when we go and show them technique. And then when they go and teach technique, that's when that they know it. They really learn about the technique when they're showing somebody else, especially a young kid. They have to learn how to teach. And once you learn that part, you're so much more confident in what you do. So, it's somewhat selfish on our part that we want to get our guys developed that way, but it's also great for community. And going to Glendive, it was a great experience. One of their assistant coaches wrestled for me, Jason Ackerman. He was an All-American here. Tim Zodi, the high school coach, was actually the high school coach when I wrestled at Baker. So he's been there a long time and been through a lot. And so it's real good to get back to those guys. And one of their other, the coach that runs their little guy, I wrestled in high school. So that type of reunion is really fun to go back and show and talk to the kids. And then they did a great job. They did the mat light, they shut the lights off.
Wow.
And it was a good duel. Coach Schleck took a team, I took a team, and we just treated like we're opposites, coached against each other, and our guys did a great job. They wrestled really hard, and it was good to see them in that atmosphere.
Sure. One other thing you guys do that I really gets me excited, I've never been a part of it, but is your lock-in, your 24-hour lock-in. The 21st hour, you had your team sit down and write a letter to someone who's influenced them in their life, and I received a letter.
Oh, did you?
From one of your wrestlers.
Nice.
Lane Overson wrote me a letter and walked me through the lock-in, but more importantly, to see that's also important as part of the lock-in to have the athletes sit down and share their heart to somebody who's made an influence on their life.
Yeah, at that 21-hour mark, when they write the letter, that's all emotion. They've stripped away all their ambition. You get exactly what they are.
Right.
And I do get a lot of calls from that, especially from grandmas and mom. Because the kid's got to be tough. He's not going to tell his mom he loves her. And in that point, they are looking. And you really get to see what they're all about. In the lock-in, from the outside looking in, it looks like you're just torturing these guys. But really, if you talk to the guys after the whole thing, it is something that when they've gone through it, it isn't something that they look forward to. Right. But once they've gone through that, they feel so much more confident about themselves. And it basically is, we go 24 hours, workout every hour on the hour, and that workout might be physical, it might be mental, it might we might run 3 workouts in a row, so for 3 hours you're doing something. It might be something that's 30 minutes, and we change it up every year. The first year we did it, we started with a barbecue out at my house. And we talked about, and the anticipation of doing it kills the young guys because they have no idea what's coming.
Sure.
So we wanted we wanted that attitude or that anticipation for everybody. So that second year we did it, everybody thought, hey, we're going out to the house for, we had a barbecue for about an hour and a half, and then we came back, and that was the year we did the Midnight Madness with the basketball team. So then we did that, and then we went into our lock-in. So that second year, we got this figured out, and so right away they're all waiting out by the door to come in and go out to the house barbecue, and hey, get your shoes on, we're going. And we went 45 minutes of harsh practice we had all preseason. And it's just like, oh, here we go. And so that part of it, we have to shake it up a lot. And we just throw things, we make them feel uncomfortable. We get them into a position, and then we talk about, we get them, like when we talk about wrestling, everybody can drill. In any sport, you can look great when you're warming up. It's when you're dead tired, can you perform? Sure. And that's what we do. We get them really tired and make them wrestle. Okay, how's your technique? And then we do mental thing where it just makes them mentally tough. There are a couple things. One of our guys is working on a highlight tape because we videotaped this year a lot of it that we haven't done that in the past. Because really it's for us to do, but it will give our guys something to look back on. One of them was they had to pick a frisbee up off a cone that was balanced on a cone and walk it around the gym. And they were all put into groups of 6. And the only thing they could lift it with was a finger. And that was in at hour 18 or something. And so you got to see some frustration, and then you really got to see some teamwork. And what was real neat about it for us as the coaches is we think we know who our leaders are. In that environment, you really find out who your leaders are. And they find out for themselves. Some of the guys that haven't said anything all year, and all of a sudden they're giving guys instruction on how to do things, and people are listening, and their confidence level just raises. So when we get done, we finish with a real hard practice and just mentally push them and physically get them exhausted where they just don't feel like they can go anymore. And it's our minds shut down before our bodies shut down, and we just try to open that and get past that and break through that wall barrier. And once they do that, hey, you're ready for college wrestling.
Awesome. Coach, anything else you want to add today?
No, I think definitely went long enough to talk about it. I do appreciate what you do here, and it definitely, I know Christian athlete thing that with a bunch of our guys are in there, they really appreciate you and get to know you and appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think wrestlers and any team reflects coach and the young men that come to FCA and I see around campus. Just awesome young men. I mean, mature, respectable, all the things you want to see in an athlete. So that reflects coach and program. So I just appreciate what you do for them and how you're raising up men really through Dickinson State University Wrestling.
Takes more than one, just like they say, but it's great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks again for joining Hawk Talk. We'll catch you next time.